Mizmor, Mizmor, Shir, Shir Le'yom HaShabbos. Mizmor, Mizmor, Shir, Shir Le'yom HaShabbos. Mizmor, Shir, Shir Le'yom HaShabbos. Mizmor, Shir, Shir Le'yom HaShabbos. The whole world is waiting to sing the song of Shabbos. The whole world is waiting to sing the song of Shabbos. And I am also waiting to sing the song of Shabbos. And I am also waiting to sing the song of Shabbos.
You there?
I'm here.
Okay. I've got a bit of an echo. I don't know why. The thing prompted me to install an update, and I was like, "What? Not now? not in the middle of what we're trying to do." So, anyway, if you haven't figured it out by now, this is 2.5 Opinions, where we try to understand Torah. So, how about you, Chris?
I said, yeah, I got it all figured out.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, before I forget, Happy Veterans Day. Thank you for your service. So,
and you too, good sir.
Thank you. So that lets everybody know, hey, today's the 11/11/17. In case they didn't already know. So, why name the Torah portion "Life of Sarah"? When
because that's the first prominent word in the sentence.
Maybe that's the typical answer. But isn't there something more? I think. Yeah.
Okay. I'm following. I'm listening.
Okay. No, I believe, according to the sages and what they write and what I study on Kabbalah, etc. They say, yeah, she was 100 and she was 20 and she was 7, and there's a whole nother teaching about that. But the life of Sarah, according to what the sages say, is the reason this portion is named that was because even though she had died and Abraham is trying to bury her, she continued to be an influence. It was as if she was not dead. Her influence was there, and Abraham, made sure of the burial site, and Abraham made sure of sending Eleazar to get a wife for his son so that they could, keep the line going. And it's just that she made an impression on Abraham, and he followed her lead in this.
Well, we're going to have almost the exact same wording at the end of our Torah portion, 25 verse 7, and these are the days and years of Abraham's life that he lived, 100 years, 70 years, and 5 years. Can we apply the same understanding to the opening verse as we can to the 7th verse when it's talking about Abraham?
I think that, as you've commonly said, that there are bookends, and I think that that's a probable, most likely understanding of that. And then that is the reason why it said that at the end, because it's said the same way in the beginning. Why the division in years, 120 and 7, whereas Abraham is 170 and 5. I assume, this is Frank speaking, Frank's opinion, I assume that it's the characters that represent the number. I don't think there's a character that represents No, there is a character who represents 70, I think. It's pace of feet. It's one of the ending letters. But anyway, um, I think that's the reason for it. But what do you think?
Oh, I wasn't looking at the actual numbers themselves, because like what you said, I've heard that for years that it was 100 years and 20 years and 7 years, and that therefore we can glean from this that for this many years she was this, and this many years she was this, and this many years she was this, because her life was divided up into portions of 3. And can we attribute that same thing to Abraham? 100 years, what? And then 70 years, what? And then 5 years, what? All I'm saying is when we start looking at the hermeneutics, there's one of those big biblical words that I learned in college, huh? This makes me sound like a preacher now. I have authority. I can use hermeneutics,
right?
And
you heard the St. Gregory's is closing, right?
I did. That's too bad. When I was a student at OBU, we used to go to St. Gregory's to dance, because you can't dance in a Baptist college, but St. Gregory's always had dances. So,
well,
you're great at doing that. You're great at saying squirrel, and I chase it like any good dog does.
Sorry.
But no, what I'm saying is that if we're going to apply the way we interpret Torah for this verse, why can we not apply the same understanding and the same approach for another verse?
Right.
And that's really what hermeneutics is all about, are we applying the same laws of our understanding and interpreting Torah throughout? We get a great big vast thing. In fact, my son Jesse he was in a conversation with somebody this past week, and the conversation somehow centered in on Daniel chapter 7 and Daniel chapter 9. And Daniel chapter 9, of course, is where we get the whole idea of the Christians, anyways, get the idea of the Messiah after we got the picture of the 4 beasts, and then we have the Messiah coming, and after so many weeks then this Messiah will be cut off, and then after so many weeks the Messiah will be restored, blah blah blah, and it goes on and on. The problem is nobody read the first 20 verses of chapter 9. Because if you'd read the first 20 verses of chapter 9 and then read the rest of the story, you'd understand the Messiah that Daniel chapter 9 is talking about is Cyrus, not, quote, the Messiah. It's
right.
It's a different setup of words and a different approach, and so many things are different than Daniel chapter 7. And so that's what I'm saying is, when we get crazy in our hermeneutics and we forget the context and forget the rest of the story, and then try to apply something we've learned from this hermeneutics to the whole thing, does it flow? No, it breaks down very quickly when we take things out of context and we apply sloppy understanding to the Torah. I'm not saying the sages are wrong. I'm not saying that the Christians are wrong, or the Messianics are wrong, or the Buddhists are wrong, or the Muslims are wrong. I'm just saying that if we're going to use this as our text, and we're going to speak of what this text is telling all of us, whether you be Jew, Christian, Goyim, or anything else, I don't care. We must approach it equally and in the same manner and treat it same throughout. And so Judaism has given us 4 levels of hermeneutics, 4 levels of understanding. And if you don't get that first base level, the Peshat level, then the rest of it will just become confusing. At best, it'll be good stories. But whenever you apply, can't jump. When you apply the analogy of the story over here in Genesis chapter 5, and you apply that story to the Peshat of Genesis chapter 20, and then you apply the remez of Genesis chapter 20 to Isaiah, then you can quickly become really twisted and off-center.
Right, so you're picking and choosing.
Right, so are we applying things appropriately throughout? Yeah. So it's a good story to say, hey, the life of Sarah, it was divided into 3 parts. Is that what the Torah is trying to tell us? Maybe. I'm not saying it's not, But it is a way of writing at the time of 120 and 7. That was the way you wrote.
Right.
In order to tell about the life of Sarah, the sages say, so since this is talking about the life of Sarah, let's talk about Sarah, because after all, we're supposed to speak good of those that are our matriarchs and patriarchs, our fathers and our mothers and our grandfathers before us. So let's speak good of this horrific, horrible time in Abraham's life. 100 years she was this, and 20 years she was this, and 7 years she was this. Beyond that, I raise caution to say this is an absolute.
Right.
But sometimes we do go in and indulge in these things and call them absolutes. Well, wait a minute. The teaching was 100 years she was this. And so now it is with Abraham. It was 100 years because he's the same. Blah, 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 and you can go crazy. And then you go into, well, the gematria of 100 means something. And
right.
Oh my goodness.
Right. And to share the context, the reason he was talking about Cyrus in Daniel is because he is a deliverer. That's what a Messiah is.
Well,
Moses was.
Yeah, and later on, another prophet is going to say, Cyrus my anointed.
Yeah.
Wow, how did we miss that one when we're thinking it was the Messiah in Daniel chapter 9? I mean, if you don't...
Well, there are always allusions to things, but
if you pick and choose out of the book, then you're going to pick and choose all kinds of crazy stuff.
Right. You can jump from the Sod, you can jump from the Peshat, but if you shoot for the Sod, you're going to miss the other 2 steps, and you're going to fall. You've got to take the steps one at a time, But I ordered my meal from the clown back there. And I paid at this window. I want to pick up the rest of it right here. Nope.
And
sorry.
It better be ready for me, sitting in there with a happy face when I pull up to that window.
Nope. Sorry. This is not the microwave generation in Torah. This is the lay it out in sequence so you can understand what God is trying to tell you.
Thank goodness I got some microwavable rice.
Jeez. It's microwavable minute rice.
Minute rice. Minute rice wasn't fast enough. I had to have it microwavable minute rice.
Exactly. Because I had to wait for the water to boil. Then I could pour it over the minute rice, and then it would be okay. No, I've got to put the water in the minute rice, pop it in the nucleator, and go, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. As it's going,
Yeah. So, and it's funny I say all of that. All the stuff I just said really can go out the window pretty fast because I did find something interesting, and I see it all the time, and I keep on meaning to study it and look into it even deeper. Yeah, so I feel like I'm putting my foot in my mouth here, and I didn't study it out as deeply as I even wanted to today because, like Frank throws out squirrels, I chase my own squirrels all the time, and so
you got a size 12 foot?
Yeah, I spun around all over the place on this Torah portion like I always do. This is a fun one, but the number 3 keeps on coming up. Because we talk about Sarah, then we talk about Abraham, then we talk about Ishmael. Ishmael, where does he come from? Why does he show up at the end of Abraham's life? I thought Ishmael was a bad guy. We've always wanted to paint Ishmael's bad. That's the Arabs, those dirty Arabs.
No, Ishmael is still his son.
Oh, and that's an interesting point. You said that. What did Hagar call Ishmael? I'm sorry. What did Sarah call Ishmael? Sarah wouldn't call him Ishmael. Sarah called him the son of Hagar.
Right.
What did Abraham call him? My son.
Right.
What did Hagar call him? Hana'er or Na'ara. It's the lad, the little boy.
Right.
Even when he was grown up, he's still mama's little boy.
Of course.
And we see 3 different titles and approaches to Ishmael. And I thought that was interesting, because that came up a couple weeks ago. And I see this thing of 3s popping up. For years, I've been been focusing on the couplets or the bookends of things, and now I'm looking at threes, and I see the number 3 popping up over and over and over just in this Torah portion. And as I go back and I see where else it's popped up, it's like, oh my goodness, it's all over the place. So what is so significant about the number 3? And now we can go into Kabbalah, and we can go into Gematria, and we can go into esoteric stuff that blows everybody's minds. And if I do it just right and with the right tone of voice, then I can have a really good offering at the end of the day. But
we don't have any extortion plates to pass around.
But you know,
we're not a ministry.
This is not this 2.5 Opinions obviously is not a ministry. So if you come here to get ministered, no, you better pick up your book, you better pick up your pencils, you better find a means to study, because we're just going to offer opinions that based on the information that we've gathered.
Right. But we encourage other people to ask questions, which I don't have the chat room up. I don't know. Do you have the chat room up? Was there?
And Jesse's gotten delayed, and he's not going to be. Well, he keeps on saying, and he just texted me a few minutes ago, I'm on my way. And so hopefully Jesse will get the chat room up.
Okay.
I am IT challenged, so obviously it's either
folks,
Frank or Jesse running the board of the room. I will blow something up.
What he's saying is he's IT challenged, which means he has gone through the prestigious Ranger School in the Army. Okay, that doesn't mean he can't do things. It just means, in Chris's own words, Ranger no one path, straight ahead, right through wall.
That's right. So, Ranger no light keyboard. So yeah, it's. Anyways, so I found the number 3, and looking at different aspects of it, I found some great, wonderful things with that. Not sure we'll get there tonight with it. It's just I think over the next couple of weeks we might throw it out some more. But with tonight's Torah portion, we really do have 3 different sets of events. I mean, whether it be Ishmael, you put that in as well, that's a side story at the end. There's 3 main stories: is Sarah, Isaac, and Abraham. Oh, okay. That's cool. And who are the 3 fathers of our faith? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Why does it always stop at Jacob? Joseph did a lot. In fact, one of the Susan Hoogie, before the show started, she does a neat thing on tying Joseph and Yeshua together, and I've heard that messianic teaching for years, and I've got no problems and no qualms with it. But if Joseph was so important, which he is, then why is he not one of the fathers? Why did it stop at 3? Why didn't it go on to 4? Why didn't it just skip Jacob and go straight to Joseph? It's why is it Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? Why is it 3 loaves on Passover? And for thousands of years, those loaves have represented Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And what's the significance? And we have, oh, wait a minute, man is divided up into 3 parts, actually.
Yes.
The nefesh and the neshama, and there's another little thing there too. And we see that all animals are 2 parts, but man is 3 parts, because we have the neshama, the breathed-in life that gives us intellect. And I'm finding this fascination with the number 3. And of course, in no means, and I need to lay this out there.
Did you read the note I sent you?
Not yet, but for all of those, just this is a disclaimer. These are the opinions and views of me, and not 2.5 Opinions or Lamb Radio or any religion whatsoever. But I cannot abide by the Trinitarian view of Father, Son, and Holy Ghost thing. I think that's totally wrong. So whenever I go into 3s and I show you things, don't expect me to go into Trinitarian, because I reject Trinitarian view. Good, bad, or others. You can hate me. You can send me hate mail. You can unfriend me, etc. Fine, whatever. This is just an opinion. But we do have the nefesh, the ruach, and the neshama, and we have 2 things by which all things are judged against, and that is the judgment and mercy. And I've said this time and time again, it's where justice and mercy meet. The result is the Messiah. And we have Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And the sages tell us that Abraham comes from the side of chesed, of mercy, which
Be right
points
back.
us, which points us to Passover. And we have that Isaac, Yitzhak, comes from the Ruach, which is our side of emotion, and is represented and played out through the festive time of Shavuot. And then we have Yaakov, who comes from Neshama, the intellect, the side of Torah, which is played out and represented in the festive time of Sukkot. And we see that these three pilgrimage feasts, Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot, are displayed in the lives of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And I just find it fascinating. It goes over and over in something of the rules of three. In Perkei Avot, we do have that the world is established on these three things, and I know Mark years ago led a wonderful study on the Perkei Avot, and we discussed this time and time again. But anyways, we need to get on with our Torah portion and not go on with Chris upsetting the religious world, Jews, Messianics, and Christians alike. So, Frank, what are we reading tonight? Frank? Well, Chris, what we're going to read tonight is, let's just go. There was something that Frank was looking at, and he was looking at Eleazar, and I think we always focus on this every year at this time, and there's some interesting things there with Eleazar, whether it be the camels. I think Brad Scott has a wonderful teaching on the camels. Others have great teachings on so many things about Eleazar, and then we get into Rivka and how she introduced. Now, I presented something, and I've yet to see it really grow legs and sprint off on its own, but Rivka is presented as an Alma, a virgin, according to the Septuagint, the Greek way of looking at things. She's depicted as an Alma, but she's also depicted as a Betula, and she's also depicted as a Na'ar. Three different words to describe Rebecca. And these three different words have different connotations and imply different things. Oddly enough, Betula and Alma, the hotly debated terms for a virgin throughout the past 2,000 years between Christianity and Judaism. Judaism holds firm that Alma does not mean virgin, whereas Betula does, and we also see Betula is not necessarily virgin in some cases, but is in others. And then there's Na'ar, which is a virgin, or really it's a the state of a female unable, or she hasn't reached the age to where she could conceive and give birth. And that's what we have with Rebecca. So, Frank, it sounds like you're back.
Yeah.
What are we going to read tonight?
I was thinking maybe just the first Aliyah. That would get us into the main topic of things. Do you feel like reading?
Well, sure. I love reading.
Okay, reading Rainbow. No, sorry.
So the first Aliyah is going to be chapter 23, 1 through 16.
Yeah. And all right, sorry, I'm switching around screens here so I can get to what I need to get to. There we go. There's the blessing. So let me know when you're ready. So, oh man, I had to leave for a second and I let Chris talk your ear off. But what he says is important. So, okay, you ready, Chris?
Waiting on you, brother.
Okay. Didn't know you were ready. All right. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bakar banu mikol ha'amim v'tan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah. El melech ne'eman.
Amen. And the life of Sarah was 100 years and 20 years and 7 years. These were the years of the life of Sarah. And Sarah died in Kiriath Arba, which is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to eulogize Sarah and bewail her. And Abraham arose from before his dead, and he spoke to the sons of Heth, saying, I am a stranger and an inhabitant with you. Give me burial property with you, so that I may bury my dead from before me. And the sons of Heth answered Abraham, saying to him, Listen to us, my lord. You are a prince of God in our midst. In the choicest of our graves bury your dead. None of us will withhold his grave from you in order to bury your dead. And Abraham arose and prostrated himself before the people of the land to the sons of Heth. And he spoke with them, saying, If it is your will that I bury my dead from before me, listen to me and entreat me to Ephron, the son of Zohar, that he may give me the Machpelah cave which belongs to him, which is at the end of his field for full price. Let him give it to me in the midst for the burial property. Now Ephron was sitting in the midst of the sons of Heth, and Ephron the Hittite answered Abraham in the hearing of the sons of Heth, and all those who had come to the gate of his city, saying, No, my lord, listen to me. I have given you the field and the cave that is in it. I have given it to you before the eyes of the sons of my people. I have given it to you. Bury your dead. And Abraham prostrated himself before the people of the land, and he spoke to Ephron in the hearing of the people of the land, saying, But if only you would listen to me, I am giving you the money for the field. Take it from me, and I will bury my dead there. And Ephron replied to Abraham, saying, My lord, listen to me. A piece of land worth 400 shekels of silver? What is that between me and you? Go, bury your dead. And Abraham listened to Ephron. And Abraham weighed out to Ephron the silver that he had named in the hearing of the sons of Heth, 400 shekels of silver accepted by the merchant.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah imet v'kayei olam nota b'tukenu. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah. El melech ne'eman. So, did
I could spend the next 5 hours just discussing the first Aliyah.
Yeah.
And Sarah died in Kiriath Arba, 1, which is Hebron, 2, in the land of Canaan, 3. There's those threes again. What's so important about saying the exact place, which happens to be which is in the land?
Well, it cost 400 shekels. Now, did Avraham get taken?
You switched gears. You didn't even signal on that one. Give me some.
I hung my arm out the window.
Come on, Chris, that's a great thought there. But let's move on to this thought.
No.
Signal.
Sorry. No, you said it's in threes. Okay, 400 comes up, which I know is not a 3. But it's the whole listen to me. All that going back and forth is something I wanted to talk about. I didn't mean to derail you. Please get back on track.
Oh no, because it goes into that, and then the sons of Heth answered and say, "Hey, you're a prince of God amongst us. Hey, our graves are your graves. Go bury your dead." How come Abraham didn't say, "I want to bury my wife Sarah"? Why does he not mention Sarah? Why did the people not mention Sarah? Do the people not even know her by her name?
He's lived in this land for 26 years. He's not exactly a stranger. Okay.
Exactly. So why are we speaking of the dead whenever this Torah portion is the life of Sarah? And now we're talking. We just jumped right over her life and went straight to the dead. She's dead. Okay. Right. Bury your dead over here with our dead.
Right. What you and I talked about before in the lead up to the show is that it's as if she is still alive. The matriarchs, patriarchs, the Tzaddikim, as it's called, they have a life ever after. Okay, so it's as if their will, their spirit is still acting on the situation at the time, even though their body has died. And that's one of the things that Rabbi Kaplan on Chabad was talking about in the article. If you go to 2.5 Opinions Facebook, you'll see I've got some articles posted, and you can see the one I'm talking about, and it's about the life of Sarah. It's she impressed upon Abraham, okay, we have to maintain the house, not the house proper as a tent or a building, the house as a people, and this house needs to go. Isaac has to have a wife. We have to have descendants. We have to have this. And it all goes back to what is said about Abraham and Sarah, is that Abraham taught the men, Sarah taught the women, all of the articles, if you will, of what God had gave them. So her influence is still present with Abraham, and that's why he's only talking about the dead. It's just the shell. That's that. Now, people, this is Frank's opinion. Okay, don't go saying it's gospel, please. This is my opinion. Is that's what I agree with him.
So instead of naming her,
right,
which is in naming, you only name live things type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So alive, she's Sarah, and without Sarah, to Abraham and to the inhabitants, it is you're dead. Is this just a colloquialism then? Is this just a way of avoiding to name her as though she is dead so that she can live on? Is that the intent of the article and what you're talking about, Frank?
I believe that's what he was getting to. He never came out and said it that way. He was just saying that the righteous, the Tzaddikim, they live on.
Yeah. So, and we really have the same trouble even today of when we hear about someone's loved one, spouse or family member that has, how do you say it, passed on, no longer with us. They're deceased. They're dead. We come up with all kinds of terms and ways to avoid saying they're dead, because dead has some type of finality to it,
right?
Some type of ending to it. They no longer exist.
Right.
And for those that believe in the resurrection, you really don't look at it as a cessation of life. You see it as the shell has ceased, but the life continues, and it kind of goes into the whole thing of cremation. Of why do we not cremate our dead? Well, because we avoid that in hopes of an expectation of resurrection.
Right.
Now
that's not to say that God can't gather every speck of whoever you were.
Sure.
And
sure. Yeah, it's not saying that cremation is a sin. Sometimes within Judaism, it's almost treated as such. It's like a horrible, terrible, terrible thing. Well, there might be times when you need to cremate bodies, like in times of plague and tight living spaces. I mean, there might be those places, but just to do it out of ease and convenience for yourself, or because it's a cheaper way to go, or anything else,
Yeah. I had a friend who was had been a practicing undertaker at one time before he joined the Air Force, and he basically just said, attach a ham bone to me and let the dog drag me down the street. Don't worry about what the remains are. And I said, well, that's kind of callous.
It's worse than that. I've got a good friend who's a colonel in the Army, and he wrote a paper on basically it's a Soylent Green type thing, but you don't eat, not to be eaten, but to be fertilized plants, and
right.
How economical. And from a logical point of view, if you do not view the body as anything other than
a shell,
just a shell that is discarded, then why not discard it in a way that is beneficial for all? And so his paper made sense, and he really believes this. A good
Right.
Christian man, and but
Right.
he still believes that it's just a shell, it's not me,
Well, yeah,
etc.,
but we
etc.
loved
But
those people. We
but
even
what I was
go ahead.
I'll end on this and let you jump in. Is yes, but every house I've lived in, I remember
Mhm.
every house that I've been a part of. I remember the people in it. I remember the rooms. I have experiences that tie me to that house. My
Yeah.
childhood house, there's still times when I dream of my childhood house or the first house my wife and I had when we were married. And all of us will have dreams of being in a house or a building. And most times that house is associated with some life experience, some life event. And so what I'm getting to is the house that we live in is this body,
Right.
and the soul has become attached to it. It's become as husband and wife should be. It has
Mhm.
become one. And so there is an attachment of the soul and the body. And so to splay me out and put me on a slab and throw me in the on a pyre heap and shoot arrows at the boat that you throw me on, or whatever version of burial you want for me, I'm looking at this going, are you treating my body with respect?
And
Because my
that's
soul had lived in that house for those years.
right. And that's exactly the tie-in with what I was saying. We it breaks my heart to remember the people I've lost, but we loved those people. We still love those people. And we should do everything we can to provide dignity to the body. It's we don't, grind up fertilizer, okay? Yes, ultimately it returns. From dust I was made, to dust I will return. But that's a natural function of death. We don't need to hasten it by doing other things to it and destroying the body that once was our loved one. Okay, now I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying this is what I believe. Okay, I don't care to have my body cremated simply because you know it's that old Christian thing. If I'm going to be in the lake of fire at the end of all this, I don't want to hasten it. But
Yeah, really. So
really,
we have Abraham that is looking towards this woman whom he loved,
yeah,
the woman from which the promise comes. It
hmm
wasn't Hagar that the promise was fulfilled. It wasn't Hagar or any other concubine or any other woman. It was Sarah, by which these two were joined in order to bring about the promised son. Sarah means a great deal, a heck of a lot to Abraham. He
yes,
means a heck of a lot as the matriarch for all women of this faith. And so Abraham takes a strange approach. I want to buy a place to bury my dead. Oh, you can bury your dead amongst the graves. No, I have a specific place in mind.
yeah, yeah, and
Mechpelah.
that's a
What?
big
Why?
story.
Why Mechpelah? Because
Uh,
Mechpelah means folding or doubling.
yeah,
That's really what it means. So it's a double cave, or it's a it's
a house on
the
a
whole.
house.
Well, yeah, the whole idea is when I have folded something in two, I have two pieces, and so I've doubled what I have by folding it.
Right.
It's the action of folding brings about a doubling of things. And so within this doubling, which is the name of the cave, that is odd. Why does a cave have a name? Can you find any place else in all of Torah, in all of Tanakh, out of any story you've ever written of? There's the cave in this land, there is this cave, that cave, etc. But this specific cave has a name.
Aha!
And the people, the sons of Heth, know this name, and the Canaanites know this name.
Yep.
This cave has super importance. Otherwise, you wouldn't name it.
Right.
And the name would not still be in existence at the time of Abraham. and Abraham wants this cave. So was Abraham ripped off? I don't know. I think 400 shekels of silver by the measurement of merchants, of those dealing and buying and selling.
Right.
Ephron got a good price. Abraham got a good price. They got a good price for the land, because, after all, this is an important cave to everyone, not just Abraham. The inhabitants of the land, they might have lost context. They might have lost touch with the importance of why a cave is named and is still named.
Well, here's the thing
this cave is named, and doubling by folding. What's the deal with there, Frank?
Right. Here's the thing about this cave. It's in the corner of a field. The field is named Machpelah. Not just the cave. It's the cave in Machpelah. But it's not just a cave. This is a waypoint. It's a what's the word I'm thinking of? The structure that you would, if you were a tourist, you would go to see any kind of structure, any kind of. It's a. Dadgummit, I just had it.
I'm not following you. It's the corner, on the corner of Fifth and Vine.
Well, no, but it's an icon. Okay, it's an icon. A relative point for that.
So this is a landmark. Yeah, this is a landmark in that area.
It's like buying this cave and buying the field and making sure the borders around the trees and everything else is like going and buying the Statue of Liberty.
So why would he want, one, why is it called double or folding, or however you want to determine the name? And why does it have a name? But even more so, why is Abraham so insistent on having this one that he'll pay even up to 400 shekels? Because he's not bartering with Ephron.
Mm-mm.
He's bartering about buying. He's not bartering on the price.
Right.
Ephron is probably doing the age-old thing of, I'm going to start out high, knowing you're going to start out low, and we're going to meet in the middle. So I'm going to say 400, you're going to say 200, and we'll meet at 300, and I'm good at 300.
Right. Right. But this place,
Abraham, you went ahead and met it without even haggling. That's not fair.
Oh, yes, but yes, it is. It's an uncontested land deed because they did it in front of the sons of Heth. This is a binding contract. This is the first piece of land Abraham has ever owned, and it's the piece of land that belongs to all of Israel.
And oddly enough, it's the first piece of land that's bought and sold, recorded in Torah.
Yes.
But why would Abraham choose this cave? Why, out of everything, he's been all over this land.
Yes, he has.
Beginning until this point, he's been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. I've seen everything. But why did this one stand out? This isn't Mount Zion. This isn't where he offered up Isaac. This isn't one of the wells that he dug, the 7 wells. This is. We don't even see that this has come up before. Right. Now suddenly it's important to Abraham so that he can bury his wife there. Why?
Well, this is the thing about the books that the sages have and the other rabbis and all the Tzaddikim. And the cave is supposed to have been, or supposedly is, the burial place of Adam and Chava. Now, you would think, well, if it's really that famous, everybody would know, right? Well, the flood happened. So the only people who really knew it were Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. If it wasn't passed down, it wasn't passed down. People would forget about it because, that's an odd structure. It's a landmark, but...
And supposedly only Shem passed on the teachings of his father Noah. And from Shem we have Abraham. And we find that Shem is even still alive at the time of Joseph.
Yes. And the story is last week's portion that Abraham, ran to see the quote unquote angels, the Melech, the messengers, and then he ran back and to hey, Sarah, make 3 things of meal and knead them and bake them, and then he ran over to the young man, which is supposedly, Ishmael, but that's neither here nor there. But he ran over the young man, prepared a kid. The kid, the calf, ran away, according to the stories. Avraham, in pain after the circumcision, runs after it. Avraham, go. As Rabbi Kaplan says, go find another calf. No, Avraham said that's the one. He went after it. It ran into this cave of Machpelah. And Avraham, being a spiritual person as much as physical, sees this glow from the cave. Okay, he is enlightened to the point where he sees those things of God happening real time right now. He sees this glow. He finds Adam and Chava in their beds, not with linen and pillows and blankets, but where they were laid to rest. He realizes this is a special cave. This is a special place. He hears the voices saying, this is Adam, this is Eve, this Chava, and, you will lay here, and so on and so forth. Takes the calf back. He knows that cave is special, and he bides his time. The story is that for the next years after this, up to and including the time when Sarah passes, when she dies, he goes there every day and prays. Strange, but that's the story. So he waits, he bides his time. His beloved dies. He says, okay, now is the time. I will.
And with all of this, because we're going to run out of time here before we get to too much more, we see how many people, because this is, for those that don't know the Machpelah, today it's called the Cave of the Patriarchs.
Yes.
And
it's in Hebron.
It's in Hebron, and it's a highly disputed area because Hebron is according to the UN and to the Palestinians, it is occupied land. I've been in the area, but when I was in Israel, I couldn't get to the Cave of the Patriarchs. Things were a little bit too heated. But we have the Cave of the Patriarchs because why? Abraham, Sarah, Isaac, Jacob. We have so many. It doesn't say where Rebecca was buried, but it's believed in fact, it's listed in the Cave of the Patriarchs that Rebecca is buried there as well. And Frank, you're telling me that Adam and Eve are buried in the cave of Machpelah, and oddly enough, because there's some very ancient, very old stories about Adam and Eve and where they were buried and how they were buried, and that Adam, being both spiritual and physical, a double man, had to be folded in order to fit into the cave of Machpelah, and hence the name of the cave was double or folded, because Adam had to be folded because he was a superhuman, not because of his size, not because of his physique, but because Adam was pure spiritual and pure human. Before and after the fall, etc., etc., Adam was the first man. There's so many aspects about Adam and about Chava, because after all, we have Adam is split into two and then rejoined with his wife to become one, a doubling, a folding, so to speak. And so this cave carries a lot of interesting mystical things. Why would Adam need to be buried in a cave, and why would we not want to be buried with Adam if we are the sons of Adam? And so yes, it carries on a great mystical meaning in monotheistic religions, but without the monotheistic religion, it loses its meaning and its importance. It just becomes myth, old stories, wives' tales. Well, so yeah, I'll sell it to you, Abraham, because you know what? I'm more concerned about the field than I am the cave. Right. Abraham could care less about the field. He wants the cave, but in order to control the cave, he's got to control the field.
Right, and so he's a pathway to the gravesite.
Yeah, so we're going to barter for all the area around because you don't understand the significance and the importance. I have entered into a covenant like the covenant of my father Adam. Mm-hmm. And I want to be buried with, because the creator of the universe told me I will be gathered up with my fathers. I relate to Adam and Chava, and my wife Sarah is the completion of me, and I will be buried here as well, and my sons after me. And we notice that Joseph is not buried in Machpelah.
But there's an interesting thing about the cave.
Food for thought.
Yeah, there's an interesting thing about the cave. It is claimed that this cave was dug by God and finished to put Eve in and put Adam in. But it was the closest point to the Garden of Eden. As a matter of fact, one of the things that Abraham says, or supposedly says, is he went into the cave, he could smell the fragrance of the garden. Okay, again, being a spiritual person, Abraham can see these things and see the workings of God before his face. After all, Abraham has talked to God. He has communicated with God. As much as that happens, we see exactly what happens to Moses when he communicates with God. So Abraham is another spiritual being and physical being. So this is why he wants this cave, because he finds out about it, and I'm sure he's talked to Shem about it, even though it's not recorded. But
yeah, and that's where we come with so many extra biblical teachings, which
right.
They're fun, they're fascinating, they give insight to, and for me, sometimes they give special meaning that I can relate with.
Sometimes I go, huh?
Yeah, how much truth is there? But you've got to be careful, because sometimes, just like how Frank and I opened it up with the life of Sarah, 120:7, and there's teachings behind that. It's for us to remember Sarah. It doesn't mean that the reason we broke it up to 120:7 is for this reason. No, because that's just the way we speak.
Right.
It's, well, I won't go into yabba dabba do and have a gay old time, but it really is. It's
you
the
wanted
way
to buy
speak.
a split level cave so you could have the top of the tier.
Yeah,
along
exactly.
with your brontosaurus burger, right?
Exactly, and so we get this doubling aspect. And I mentioned at the beginning about threes and how there's two absolutes, and the third is really a connecting point. So we have Adam and Eve, and Abraham as a connecting point. And from Abraham comes all of Israel. But Abraham had two children. And we see these two children at the end of this Torah portion, and they come back together, and Ishmael does not seem to be this horrible bad guy that we want him to be.
Nope.
And then Isaac will have two sons, and one of them will run off and befriend Ishmael. And we want to view it. We really do. We want to view that as a bad thing. This is family, folks.
Mm-hmm.
This is family.
You can choose your friends, but you just can't choose your family.
But both Sarah and Rebecca are going to say, do not let my son, this son, out of all my sons, don't let this son marry the daughters of Canaan.
Mm-hmm.
And we see it in this Torah portion. And Abraham warns Eleazar, his servant. And we see Eleazar has three titles as well.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. We got a lot of threes going on in this Torah portion. And Eleazar is warned. And the Torah doesn't come out and say it specifically. But in the verbiage that's here, it is upon the pain of death, do not choose a daughter of Canaan for Isaac.
Right.
Why was it okay for Ishmael? Why was it okay for Esau? Why is it okay for others, but not this child? Because they're still hanging on to that promise. We still have the left and the right that is looking for the absolute sinner. We still have absolute justice and absolute mercy looking for the connecting point, which is the third. Have you ever wondered, Frank, I mean,
about.
my wife is left-handed. My firstborn son is left-handed, and they love to say we're the only ones in our right mind because the whole thing of you've got two brains.
Two
Now,
hemispheres, yes.
please don't think that I'm shocking you with this. You have two separate brains, the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere, and they are conjoined by what is that? The corpus. I'm trying to go back to my anatomy and physiology here.
Well,
The
okay.
corpus
First is the amygdala.
callosum or colossum or something like that. It's the corpus callosum, I think, is what it is, and it's a bundle of neural fibers that connect the two brains together. But that from that becomes the Abdullah oblongata, which keeps your body alive even while you sleep, even while you're unconscious. It's what regulates the heart, your breathing, muscle function, everything. It's the very base of everything. But your left brain controls one aspect of living, and your right brain controls another aspect of living. And you still have to have the meeting of the two to have a third brain.
Right. You have the amygdala, you have the central, the cerebellum, and then you have the cerebral cortex.
I'm not trying to go into anatomy.
Well, no. I'm just saying you've got all of these different connecting pieces.
Yeah, and
that connect the right and the left hemisphere in order to make one whole brain.
Right. All I'm trying to do is even show in physicality, the law of three. You have two separate things, and they're conjoined together by the third.
Right.
And I see that when I'm seeing things of three, of symbolism and significance there, it doesn't mean you have to apply this in everything. What I'm saying, though, is that the number three in Torah is something of a mediation between two prominent forces, whether opposing or contradicting or even complementary is immaterial. It's the aspect that these are two separate standalone forces, and there is a reconciliation or a connection between the two. We can see this in time. Think about this. You've got the past, and you've got the present, and you've got the future. But the present is fleeting, because just as I said this, it's gone.
That's right.
Now it's the past.
But it's the only thing that connects the past and the future.
And we're always looking for the future. There are two absolutes, the past and the future, and the present is constantly fleeting. The present is what marries these two together. It's a non-physical and a physical aspect at the exact same time. And it's in this aspect, the dimension of three, where you have one absolute and a second absolute, and those two are conjoined together. And if you'll take it for just a moment, a feminine aspect and a masculine aspect, and they are conjoined together, what is going to be the result? That connecting point of the third. And the third is the harmony between the two. And so when we say Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we say Abraham is the side of the nephesh. He's the side of mercy. And we see Jacob, Yaakov, he's the side of the neshama. He has the intellect, the Torah, because it is from Jacob that we're going to have 12 tribes. It is Jacob that his name is going to be changed. Jacob is going to be the semblance of Sukkot. But Jacob's life is horrible, turmoil. It's hideous. I don't want Jacob's life the way it's presented on a very Peshat level in Torah, but spiritually, Jacob's life is my life. Abraham, I don't get you at all. And in the middle comes the Ruach. And so I get where Christianity wants to come up with Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, because Ruach, after all, we know Ruach means Holy Spirit. No, it doesn't always mean that. We don't always understand what Ruach means. It's the breath of God, etc. But this
or
is
the wind that is holy. It's not
this. Yeah, but this is the avoda. This is the side of emotion. This is where God, when he acts out, it's acted out in the Ruach, whether it be in the absolute judgment or an absolute mercy. It's the Ruach that acts this out. And we see in the so-called New Testament, where Jesus, which to me it gets confusing at times, is he here to join families together, or is he here to separate families? I didn't come to bring about love, but I came to bring a rod. And then I came to not bring a rod, but I came to bring, and we see this conflicting thing back and forth. But really, what he is saying is, at this point in time, this is who I am. But in the age of Messiah, Messiah will bring about absolute mercy and absolute justice to those that love God and obey God's voice and are seeking God. Messiah brings about mercy and the perfect harmony of absolute justice upon those that need the justice and upon those that really need justice applied to them.
Yeah.
Or me, or you.
Yeah. Well, it says he comes back to rule with a rod of iron.
Yeah, so we see this laid out over and over, and here we have the cave of Machpelah. This is the doubling, or the doorway, or the aspect of what happens when one side has completed, but the other side continually lives on. So we're going to double them together, and in this act, Abraham depicts and points to exactly what he did with Isaac on the mountain. He says there will be, of an absolute necessity, of it is necessary, it will happen, a resurrection.
Yeah.
So his life is pointing to the life of God, because God told him, kill your son. Okay. Dum-dee-dum-dee-dum-dee-dum. We're going to go up the mountain. I'm going to kill the boy, and we're both going to come back down again. Then that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. What do you mean, God? You abhor human sacrifice. Why are you saying this? And why would Abraham, who knows you, who's your friend of you, why would he even consent to such an idea? This is abhorrent.
Well, this is why he supposedly argued with him. This is why he supposedly argued with him.
He didn't argue with God over Isaac. He jumped up before sunlight, lit on top of his camel, and took his son with him. He was running to this event.
Right, but that's
he didn't delay in the slightest. There was no ambiguity whatsoever. Why, Abraham, can you say God said kill your son, and you're running to get this done? You're not hesitant. You're not even thinking twice on it. You're running to do it. Why did you say, the lad and I were going to go up to the hill, we're going to sacrifice? And in his mind, he's saying, I'm going to sacrifice my son, and the lad and I will return, because Abraham depended upon the resurrection even at that point. And that's what I'm saying. And that's where it's going to, even to this cave. This cave is the purpose and the representation of the resurrection of even Adam and Chava, because the first humans are here. They had to be folded, spiritual and physical, together. And from this idea, from this understanding, Abraham is relying upon Messiah and resurrection simultaneously, and he is insistent he will spend his life's fortune to make sure his wife is buried there, because once his wife is buried there, he knows he will be buried there, and the two together will bring about Messiah, or the messianic mindset. And I'm talking high and spiritual and esoteric and etc. But it goes along with this. And so I challenge you, as we go through the next Torah portions, this idea of threes will subside and fade and come back, and subside and fade and come back. But I found it very interesting that in this Torah portion and last week's Torah portion, it keeps coming up. So Frank, it's all yours.
Thanks. No, but it was I couldn't say it's an argument. It was discussion with God before he goes and takes Isaac. Take your son. Which son? The one you love. I love both of them. Okay. Yea, Isaac. Okay. It is said by the sages, again, this is extra biblical, that is what Abraham was do what to my son? Which one? because he's struggling with this. He obeys wholeheartedly because he trusts God. So, as you said, one way or another, Isaac is coming back down the hill alive. Whether we read the text and the angel stopped his hand, from doing anything, and then they got the ram, or, he actually did, which is not recorded, and then God resurrected him there on the spot. One way or another, Isaac is coming back. So,
and you know what? We've got to finish. This will be my last.
Yeah.
I really mean it this time. I
really mean it.
My wonderful daughter-in-law,
Hey,
whom
Rocky,
I love dearly. She posted something on my Facebook page. Something about I'm not going to talk about religious things anymore. And 3 drinks later, I'm posting up the thesis on the Cardinals door. I don't know. Go to my Facebook page. You'll see it and you'll understand, Frank. Give me three drinks of wine and I'm ready to go head full into religious
time
stuff.
To rock and roll.
Yeah, in looking for these patterns of 3, I came across something that ties into this Torah portion with the word Alma, which ties into Isaiah and the virgin thing, and it ties into so many other things. But I really did. I stumbled upon it by looking for 3s, and it's Proverbs chapter 30. There are 3 things which are too wonderful for me to understand: the way of an eagle in the sky, the way of a serpent on a rock, the way of a ship in the middle of the sea. Those are the 3 things. But the 4th is beyond my comprehension: the way of a man with a Alma. Now, if I'm going to take the Christian view that Alma means virgin, the way of a man with an Alma, what does the way of a man with an Alma have to do with an eagle in a sky and a serpent on a rock and a ship in the sea? Well, the Jewish understanding of the ancient adage of the way of an eagle in the sky and the way of a serpent on a rock and the way of a ship in the sea is, what do those 3 things not do? There's no trace of them ever having been there. The eagle flies through the sky and you can't trace his path. There's no evidence that he was ever there. A serpent on the rock, the same thing, and a ship on the sea. After he's
never touches the same passive part of water ever again.
You can't tell that he was ever there. And the way of a man with a virgin, you can't tell that he was ever there. Oh, no. Maybe we don't understand Alma as being virgin, because the way with a young woman, there is no evidence, but with the way of a virgin, you at least have the breaking of the hymen, and there is blood trail. Hence, we have the ancient Middle Eastern way of proving that she was a virgin by bringing out the sheet that they slept upon that very night of their wedding, which was very important. And the father and mother of the bride kept this as proof
that she was an upright young woman. Yep.
And what is the rest of this proverb? This is the way of an adulterous woman. She eats and wipes her mouth and says, I've done nothing wrong. So it was just interesting and odd to me. I'm not saying that Yeshua is not virgin birth. I'm not going to enter into that conversation. I'm just saying that here's another approach from the Jewish perspective, at least based on Tanakh, not based on the Septuagint, which is really not a very good translation of anything. And it certainly did not come from 70 rabbis or 70 scribes. It's a made-up fallacy of the Catholic Church. But that's my opinion, and the views and the opinions of Chris Matthews are based on Chris Matthews and not of 2.5 Opinions or Lamb Radio or anybody else. So don't hold anybody else and Messianics and Christians and Jews to blame for my opinion. It's just my opinion.
Right, but the Textus Receptus?
Yeah.
Is the other one?
Yeah, that means I took 3,000 completely different manuscripts and combine them together to bring about the received text that we will take and use as our authoritative text. And the Septus, whatever, the Textus Receptus,
right,
as what was taught to me in the I hesitate to say it, in the Christian college and seminary, was the authoritative text because it combined these 3,000 things that didn't agree together and found the commonalities between them, and therefore this is what we're going to believe.
Huh.
Wow.
Okay.
You don't even do that with Homer.
Hmm.
You do this with your religious texts and say they're divinely. No, never mind. I'm really going to be crucified at the stake by anybody listening now because
it is why we trust
the text itself,
right.
And that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just saying, guys, at least understand what you're reading and where it comes from. I'm not saying
it's why we trust the Torah.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying anything hideous about it. I'm just saying at least know and understand from where it came.
Because, okay, real quick, when I was getting my degree, there was a compressed class on reading Christian, books, and we were talking about Barth, Buber, Bauer, and Tillich. Okay, which, Chris, as you know, are some pretty heavy hitters in that, makeup, that genre. But I noticed they were taking the New Testament, the Brit Hadashah, and looking back, whereas we should still be taking the Torah and looking forward. If it doesn't agree with Torah, in Frank's opinion, it doesn't. It's superfluous.
It should at least be dealt with carefully.
Yes,
and yeah, I agree with you, Frank. Is that okay? If I remember. Oh, we're way past time now.
We're okay.
I guess what I'm getting with is everything should be weighed against Torah if Torah is your proof text for everything else.
Right.
If your proof text is Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, then everything should be weighed against Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. But don't tell me that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John is based upon Torah if you're using Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John as your proof text.
Right.
Does that make sense? In other words, don't tell me that I built this house based upon the windows, and so therefore the slab must be poured this way. No, I'm pouring the slab this way, therefore the walls are built up, and now the windows can be fitted appropriately based upon the slab and the frame of the house. I didn't build the house around a window. I built it upon the base of a structure.
Right.
Which is, for me, Torah.
Yes.
So everything. I don't care whether it's Kabbalah. I don't care whether it's the what is it? The Book of Jubilees and
oh yeah.
What are some of those other books that are not considered part of Torah?
Well, there's the Apocrypha, and then there's the lost books of the Bible, and then there's
No, I'm talking about some of them that are even quasi read by, or at least accepted by Judaism, but not as being part of Torah.
Zohar.
Well, yeah, but Zohar is an explanation of Torah. There's the who's the man that lived the longest in the Bible?
That was Methuselah.
Wow. No, who was his son?
Lamech.
Whatever.
No. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, there's so many other books out there that are very interesting and wonderful, but I base everything on Torah, including Tanakh. So the writings and the songs and the prophets, if they don't align with Torah, Torah is my base. Torah is my foundation. If it's not built upon Torah, then yeah, I might entertain it. It might help me understand something, but it's not Torah to me.
Right.
So even the prophets, if they're not lined up with Torah, then Isn't there still something out there that I'm waiting, expecting? I mean, after all, Jeremiah and Daniel, you know how many other prophets lived at their time? Even if you read Jeremiah and Daniel, there were hundreds of other prophets. How come we didn't preserve their writings? Were they wrong?
Well, they
Were
didn't
they
make the
not
bestseller
prophets?
list.
They didn't make the New York Times bestseller list. What? It's because those prophets spoke of their time. These prophets spoke of future events, and we were more concerned with that to be preserved because it was beyond our lifetime at the time of canonizing the Tanakh, canonizing the New Testament, canonizing the whole Bible from maps to Genesis, or Genesis to maps, however it goes. And so understanding how all of this comes together and why these things are there and why we study them and what is the foundation? The foundation is Torah.
Right.
And when I find interesting things like threes or this strange cave that is so important to Abraham, or Ishmael, why is Ishmael a bad guy? I don't see that he's a bad guy.
No, all it says is he would grow up in the wilderness and be an ass of a man, a wild
God blessed
donkey.
him.
Yes, made him a nation.
And gave him land.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
He established his house, yes.
So why is this a bad thing? Oh, it's because Muslims, we got to hate Muslims. I keep on forgetting that one.
Yeah, but Ishmael was not a Muslim.
Correct. You got me on that one. It's just that, we think of Arabs must be from Ishmael or it's etc. And we always have to have this dividing point to give me a reason to hate you, as opposed to, when Sarah was alive, there was always a cloud over the entrance of her tent. The candles burned from Shabbat to Shabbat. There was always a fragrance about her. And we see in the temple, there was always a cloud of the incense. There was always a fragrance over the temple, and the doors were always left open. Only when Sarah died did these things cease, but when Rebekah came and Isaac brought her into his mother's tent, was he relieved to find that the cloud had returned and the fragrance had returned and the doors of the tent were opened again. Who is the middle pillar? Isaac, who joins absolute mercy and absolute justice. We want to study Joseph. Absolutely great things. But we miss a lot of aspects about Isaac, because Isaac and Rebekah and the temple are conjoined in such a wonderful spiritual way that we skip over that in rushing to justify the New Testament, as opposed to understanding the basis of our religion, the basis and the foundation of our belief.
Right. Because we are monotheists, but according to according to Mark, we actually are monolatrists.
There you go.
Okay.
I like that word. Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, we're still wandering in the wilderness, and thank God Moses said, or God told Moses, "Hey, whenever you get into the land, it's not going to be like it is today. Everybody following their own ways. When you get into the land, it's going to be my way." Right.
Now I'm going to leave you with one other thing that was passed on in the thing that's posted on 2.5 Opinions Facebook. Where's Moses buried?
Well, nobody knows.
The answer is nobody knows, right?
Because God buried him. Yeah.
Right. There's a teaching. I don't know. Okay. After that, tunnels opened up between all the different Tzaddikim, including Moses, and angels transferred his body to Machpelah. I said it's a teaching.
I know, and that's one of those rabbinical things where I go, oh, you guys are killing me with this extravagant trying to tie everything together. I mean, truly, the rabbis want everything tied up in a nice, perfect, beautiful bow. Well, life is not a beautiful bow. It's not. And so as much as I want to quote and side with the rabbis, I got a lot of problems with them, folks. So
I know. I know.
For those of you that think I've gone off the deep end, no, I haven't. I want the truth.
He's just
long for
perched
and
upon the
search for truth.
precipice.
What is
That's
Annette? Yeah. And so with that,
yeah.
Frank,
Okay.
have a good week.
Yeah.
Shavua
Well,
tov.
hold on a second. This is
And
Two and a Half Opinions.
yeah,
I'm Frank.
And I am Shepherd Chris.
Shepherd. Okay. That'll work.
Shepherd Book, Shepherd Chris. Yeah. I'm not the Rebbe.
Yeah. Me either. So anyway, thank you all for listening to Two and a Half Opinions. We're a man short, but that's okay. I apologize. We should have had, gotten to some posts. We didn't see them. But anyway, please join us again next week when we will be here to open up your mind again, or at least give you some questions.
Oh, we had some posts?
I don't know. I'm making an assumption.
That's right, because Jesse wasn't here, so we don't know what was in the chat room. Because
right.
Yeah,
well,
I
not
tried to log
computer can do everything. So
yeah. All right.
So anyway.
So
all right.
Have a good week, study, and get plenty of rest, and we'll help you storm the castle in the morning.
Bye. Have fun storming the castle. You think it'll work? It'd be a miracle. Here we go again. Princess Bride. Anyway, this is Two and a Half Opinions. Shabbat Shalom, Shavua Tov, Laila Tov, Lehithrot. Enjoy. We'll see you again next week. Shalom.
Okay. I guess we're going to close the room, so... Okay. Remember, the short, disclaimer here is, if your speakers break or your computer breaks because I sing, I am in no way liable for any damages caused by that or any cameras that take my picture, okay? So, let me see if I can remember the song. Let me see. Do I remember the words? Okay. Mizmor shir leyom hashabos. Mizmor shir leyom hashabos. Mizmor shir leyom hashabos. Mizmor shir leyom hashabos. The whole world is waiting to sing the song of Shabbos. The whole world is waiting to sing the song of Shabbos. And I am also waiting to sing the song of Shabbos. I am also waiting to sing the song of Shabbos. The flowers and the trees sing the song of Shabbos. The valleys and the mountains sing the song of Shabbos. The stars in the skies sing the song of Shabbos. The angels in heaven sing the song of Shabbos. The whole world is waiting to sing the song of Shabbos. The whole world is waiting to sing the song of Shabbos. And I am also waiting to sing the song of Shabbos. I am also waiting to sing the song of Shabbos. I saw 6 million dying. They sang the song of Shabbos. I hear 3 million crying to sing the song of Shabbos. Stop all the hatred, sing the song of Shabbos. Love one another, sing the song of Shabbos. Dance on the street, sing the song of Shabbos. Dance on the street, sing the song of Shabbos. The whole world is waiting to sing the song of Shabbos. The whole world is waiting to sing the song of Shabbos. And I am also waiting to sing the song of Shabbos. Mizmor Shir, Shir Leyom HaShabbos. There. Are you happy now, Charlotte? Do it again, do it again. Come on, will you?